Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today. I'm going to start off by thanking you all for coming back each week and commenting, dropping likes, and for the new folks who drop by and subscribe. I currently read all my comments that come in each week, and every so often we get a negative comment, which I simply ignore to somebody having a bad day. I am going to take this opportunity today though to clear the air regarding one comment I read last week. I am a small, minute channel, and I currently do not have an abundance of stories emailed to me on a daily or weekly basis. This means I have to do some research each week to create content for you guys. Believe me, I'm not complaining, but I'm just stating the facts. My content comes from various sources, the internet, social media sites like Reddit for instance, and when I find a story on Reddit, I always reach out and ask for permission. I have on occasion received stories from my subscribers, and hopefully one day I will be able to do multiple episodes a week due to the volume of stories emailed to Ontario Cryptids. That would be sweet. Now, each week it takes me roughly 4 to 6 hours to read the story, create the format, edit the story, and add visual content for each episode. And this does not include researching the stories prior. This is the reason why currently I only upload one episode a week. I want to add that I truly enjoy telling these stories to you all each week, and I truly enjoy reading your comments, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this at all. Okay, sorry for the rant, but I thought I should clear the air. Now, for the part that you've all been waiting for, how many of you take the time to look up at the sky while you're walking or sitting on your deck, or maybe while you're stopped at a red light? Today we have 3 stories, and one was submitted by the viewers. The other 3 come from Reddit. All of them relate to objects or things in the sky. Okay, so go grab yourself a beverage, get cozy on the couch or chair, and sit back and relax. All right, so now for the first story of the day. This story takes place on December 31st, 2017, and it takes place in West Yorkshire in the UK. Now, I do want to add here that we are going with the new format where we have an orbital spin. However, the spin does not work if I am using a general let's say province, as opposed to zooming in on a specific town or location. So bear with us, but we have moved over to the new format, and thank you for all of you for commenting and liking the new format. For context, I'm being totally serious and I'm not trolling or lying. This happened New Year's Eve 2017, evening time, about 6 to 7 p.m., so it was dark outside. My family and I were about to go to a New Year's Eve party at my auntie's house, but before doing so, I needed to walk the dog. I started walking my dog, and we walked down a path next to a field that was connected to a farm, so it was surrounded by barbed wire. The field is also surrounded by a huge wooded area that spans for miles. So imagine a farm that was surrounded by a large wooded forest area. In the sky above the field I was walking next to, I noticed 2 balls of light flying together in an infinite symbol pattern. So I of course stopped to look because it looked amazing. I have never seen anything move the way it moved. It moved like it was defying gravity because of how fluidly and fast they both moved. After about 10 or so seconds, they stopped. They both rapidly moved upwards and to the left on the edge of the woods and the field. They stayed there hovering next to each other for a few seconds before one of the orbs flew rapidly upwards and disappeared. I noticed that one orb had stayed, so I decided it was a good idea to leave and continue walking my dog down the path. By the way, the road is to the left of the path and the field is to the right. As I was walking, I noticed that the orb was following me, not right next to me, but flying across the field at a distance. I was getting quite anxious because of this thing following me, so when the path ended, I did a U-turn and walked back up the same way I walked down. But I was on the road and not the path. It continued to follow me up the road. I sort of live in a countryside up north in the UK, so this road is poorly lit, and it is one of those old ones that only allows one car through at a time. It is also surrounded by bushes and trees on one side and the path on the other. As I was walking up the road, the orb was floating behind me, almost like it was watching me. The orb itself looked like it was glowing and was a shiny silver color. It was very bright, but I could look at it and it didn't hurt my eyes. It also made no sound. It was totally silent. It wasn't very big. I would say approximately the size of a basketball. I came to the part of the road where the bushes stopped, and there are two houses on the right side and on the left. There is still the woods and farm, with the edge being surrounded by trees. All of a sudden, the orb that had followed me for a good couple 100 meters up the road suddenly stopped and floated up into the middle of a nearby tree, looking down at me from it. I stood there with my dog staring up at this thing that was so close to me I could see that the silver orb was a little bit sparkly on the surface. It felt like looking up at a bird in a tree. The orb and I looked at each other for about a minute. It didn't move, it just hovered in the tree. It wasn't in the tree, but floating very close to the branches. The orb did not communicate with me. I did not see aliens. The orb just followed me, and then we looked at each other for a good minute. I don't know exactly how long because I wasn't keeping watch at the time, but it was a significant amount of time. I got a good mental picture of this thing looking back while writing this, and they probably got a good picture of me too. I don't think I had my phone on me, but this thing was so crazy to me, I didn't want it to fly away. And in my head, I thought if I had pulled out my phone and tried to snap a pic, it might fly away. If you think I'm lying because I have no proof, then that's on you, because I know that this is true. When I thought I had a good look at this orb and I wouldn't forget what it looked like, I walked away from it and I continued walking up the road. I kept looking over my shoulder as I was walking away to see if it was still there. Then I looked forward and then looked over my shoulder one last time, and it was gone. I didn't see it go. It clearly disappeared as I looked forward. The whole thing thoroughly creeped me out, so I Googled what I saw when I got in. Floating silver orbs in the night sky. Nothing much came up from that search, but I knew it was something. I didn't know what it was. A few of my theories at the time was that it was a spirit of some kind visiting me, but I was skeptical about the whole thing. I did also think it was aliens, but I didn't really have proof, and I hadn't heard of UFOs being described as orbs of light before, only the traditional flying saucer. Because of the way it looked when I got close to it, I thought it could have been a ball of energy, but again, I didn't really know. I came to the conclusion that it was aliens because it seemed the most plausible to me. I didn't think much of it for a long time, until these past few days when I saw a YouTube video on the aerial school encounter and the Phoenix Lights. I am not a huge believer in aliens before my encounter with the UFO, but I do believe in them because if the universe is basically infinite and we have planets in our galaxy that can harbor life, then logically there has to be other life out there. I'm kind of preaching to the choir though here, LOL. I didn't believe, however, that they had visited Earth. After my encounter, I believe they are real and they are observing us. Thank you for reading this. If you've gotten this far, I hope you believe me. But if you didn't, that's fine. I'm just here to tell my story. Wow, this was a great story. I do want to say I do believe you, and I want to thank you for allowing me to share your story on my channel. Now, I have blurted on so much today already that I think for the sake of time, we're just going to move on to story number 2. All right, this story takes place in January of 2021, and it takes place somewhere in the middle of Highway 46 between two destinations in the state of California. Now, as you can see, the highway is on the left of the town of Shannon, which I just picked as a center point of the location. I was driving from Kern County to San Luis Obispo tonight when I was exactly halfway, I mean literally in the middle, 1 hour from each location at 12:38 a.m. I was in a part of the drive that is barren. No houses, no trees, no lights, no stores, just road, etc. I drive this road at night fairly often to visit my family. Out of nowhere, two lights appeared to my right about 1 to 2 miles away and about 50 to 100 feet off the ground. We were perpendicular to each other and going the same speed. My stomach dropped and I got a horrible feeling that something was wrong. I tried slowing down and the objects would freeze and slow down. They would move above and below each other and next to each other. One light would turn off and then both, then back on. When I would speed up, they would too, and it felt as if I was inevitably going to collide with them. There is absolutely no possible way it was a plane or car. I could see the outline of the objects, a vertical oval saucer shape. At this point, I floored it and tried to pass it as quick as possible since I cannot turn around and go back home now. I called my mom and explained what was happening. She said she understood, and as I explained it, they disappeared into thin air. I opened up my sunroof and nothing. Around me, nothing. No lights to my right where I would have passed or collided with the objects. The lights were not headlights. They had no glare around them to indicate the direction they were going like a car does. I have been seeing UFO sightings on the news and other media forms. So has my mom. When she answered the phone, she knew exactly what I was feeling and seeing without me physically saying the word UFO, because I was scared they would know I was talking about it. The shakiness in my voice demonstrated how nervous I was, and my mom reciprocated as if she felt it too. There is 1,000,000% no doubt in my mind that they were UFOs. Wow, that was an intense encounter right there, to say the least. I know what you mean about not having to necessarily tell somebody something and they know exactly how you're feeling or what's going on, because I have the same thing with my family, especially my sister. We're just so connected that sometimes we don't have to finish our sentences, or the other person just knows how, you're feeling. So very, very interesting story. And wow, all I can say is good thing that you kept your wits about you and called your mom, because I know you were questioned in the chat about why you didn't take a picture. And I fully understand that at that point in time, if you think you're going to be colliding with a UFO, you want to have both hands on the steering wheel. And, just in case something happened to you, it was a really good idea for you to call your mom so somebody knew what was going on with you at the time. So actually, that was very, very quick thinking. Thank you for letting me share your story on my channel. I truly appreciate it. Now, let's move on to the last story. And this one here was sent in by a viewer. We are flying north for this story. We are heading back up to Canada. This last story takes place in May of 2003 in Brampton, Ontario. Okay, this story happened to me a while ago, but I remember it clearly and vividly. I could close my eyes now and see it happening all over again. I had a job as a local courier driving a cube van, and I had a partner who would help me unload at each destination. It was somewhat of a warm spring day in May of 2003, and we were delivering to a chapter store at Quarry Edge Drive, Brampton, Ontario. Myself, my partner, and the unloader at Chapters were all just standing outside relaxing after transferring the boxes of books when I looked up. And flying from south to north, roughly 200 feet up, was an honest-to-goodness pterodactyl. Now, I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs at all. Never have. And as I pointed the creature out to my co-workers with a number of choice expletives, none of us could believe what we were seeing. This was 100% not a bird. It had no feathers, and it was completely green. It looked just like this. We all watched it fly out of sight, and then all looked at each other speechless. Nobody I tell this to believes me, but I know what I saw, what all three of us saw. Thank you so much, Aaron, for submitting this story. I did have a couple questions which I asked Aaron, and he was kind enough to respond. So I'm just going to go ahead and read his response. No, there was no sound. It was totally silent as it glided across the sky from directly overhead when I saw it and pointed it out to when it flew out of sight. This was before the time of cell phones and cams and way before drones. I don't tell this story a lot because nobody believes me. They say we just saw a bird or something, but I know exactly what I saw, as impossible as it sounds. Thanks again for answering the questions that I asked. And wow, that must have been truly terrifying seeing a prehistoric bird flying around today, in what year was this? 2003. But, in modern times, we don't hear of people seeing pterodactyls every day here. But I do have to say, I did look it up. I was very curious if there were any other sightings of people seeing pterodactyls. And believe it or not, there was a couple more that I found. There was some scattered around the world, but what I was looking for specifically was here in Ontario. And I did find, I think it was 2 other stories of pterodactyls, and one was up in Brampton, and the other one was Leslie and something. So there were some sightings. One was in 2016, and I can't remember the date of the other one. But what I will do is leave a link to that information below in the description of this video. Okay, so I do want to thank you guys for coming out and checking out another video. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And thank you again for answering the call when I ask. For example, I think a couple weeks ago I asked for 50 likes. I got 50 plus likes. You guys are absolutely the best. So thank you so much for that. And on a final note, if you have a story, if any of these stories reminded you of something that has happened to you and you would like to share your experience, then go ahead and send your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com, and it would be my pleasure to tell your story on this channel. So thank you guys. That's a wrap. We'll see you all next week.